Episode of Inspire Every Life. I am your host, Sion Mikael. And today, I just want to ask a simple question. What is it? What is it that's holding you back from pursuing purpose, from pursuing your life vision? I had this question, it's been reverberating in my soul for about a year, believe it or not. And I initially thought about this question. I even dreamt about it, which is odd because I am a person that wants to inspire others. I live for that. And I want to understand the behavior behind the mentality, right? And so my question is simple. What's holding you back? Is it fear? Is it the people around you? Because if you actually went out and obtained that very thing, they might call you crazy. Well, guess what? Dreams and visions that you have are generally always going to be bigger than you. If you can accomplish it by yourself, I'm sure you've heard this, and on your own, maybe the dream is not big enough. So God has put a desire in your heart. The Bible is clear. He gives us the desires to desire. So why are we letting people, places, and things and all those things around us stop us? Or could there be an internal battle? Right? I can recall when I had dreams and I dared to utter them because I'm very extroverted, as y'all can tell. And I shared it with people who couldn't see me doing that very thing and did their best to have a lukewarm reception, okay, of my dream of going to law school. I remember telling this one gentleman I was going to law school. He said, "Law school? You?" And I said, "Yeah." Okay. So I was like, okay, that tells me you were probably not the right person to share it with. Not that everybody has to encourage you, but if those people that are closest to you or around you, the 5 to 7 people that are around you, and you felt led to share this because maybe you're excited, maybe you just enrolled or all that, right? And I'm happy to say I graduated this past May with my law degree, right? And then from there, I had another aspiration. I kept seeing myself on this specific red dot. And I had this message in my heart that I wanted to share about identity. And I would talk about it only with a few select people. And this time I was selective on who I shared it with. And I shared it with people who could have the capacity to hold me, not just for my now, but my next and my beyond. So you have to be careful who you share your testimonies with or your aspirations with or your dreams or your hopes with, because if they don't have some of their own that they're going after too, they'll be sure to knock yours down. You heard what I said. Intentionally, unintentionally, or what have you. Then you have those that are around you that you would think, okay, they're going to be happy for me as you're ascending, and you talk to them and you tell them all the things and all of that. And then once you actually obtain that, it's like crickets, right? It's that lukewarm reception. And don't be alarmed by that. Don't be surprised by that. That's people being people. I say people are peopling, and that's okay, just as long as you don't do that. But I'm telling you something, that when you have a dream, people don't, and you actually obtain that dream, and they don't see all that you have done behind the scenes, all of the sacrifice, the late nights, the being up, all of that, just to chase this thing that's on the inside of you, taking it out of the hope realm into the reality. Because a dream deferred, right? Hope deferred, that's what the Bible says, makes the heart sick. And you were never meant to be sick. You were never meant to carry the weight of all of that and not actually put some feet to it. So here's the part that I want to warn you about. When you leave one area of your life to go to the next, you most certainly cannot and should not take everybody because they can't go where you're going. That's the hardest part. It's often the very same people who were there for you when you were realizing your dream, when your vision was just still words, it was just a hope, something you talk about. And those, when you hear things like, well, why would you want to do that? Are you really going to? Really? That negativity isn't coming from people you hate. It's coming from people that are around you. That's a clue that it's probably time to get some new associations, some new friendships, new alliances. And you can pray for that. It's called the gift of men, the gift of people, right? It's what Jesus had. As he was a young man, he grew in wisdom, stature, and favor. So favor comes from people, right? So pray that God does that. And then here's the last thing I want to share with you. And let me say this because it doesn't get said enough. Alignment to God's purpose in your life is going to cost you. Becoming who God has called you to be, purposed you to be, do and have is not a passive process, nor should it be. It's a daily choice. So you wake up on Monday, you got to determine to be that version, that vision of yourself that you want to be. You have a vision in your mind about your health, your finances, I remember when I'll give you a story. I was a young woman raising a family, and there was an area where I wanted to buy a house. And everybody told me I was not going to buy a house. And I was like, I'm buying a house. God showed it to me. And I already declared and decreed it. It went into the neighborhood, and I knew the neighborhood because he had revealed it. And I went from one realtor to the next to 3 different realtors before I got a realtor that was in alignment with the dream and the vision that God showed me. And this man happened to be a foreigner. He had a daughter that was in the same school as my daughter. And it was someone who I knew in church that introduced me to him. And I was so thankful. I didn't know that she was a realtor. And the Lord just put it on my heart to share with Millie your story. And the reason why people told me I couldn't do it was because of a multitude of reasons. But I knew that I needed to have my daughter go to a specific school, and we need to be in proximity to this private school, and this was the area. And I even saw the color of the house. And by God's grace, not only did I get the house, I outwin the bid with 6 other people. The man who saw me, or his wife that saw me, she wanted me and my daughter to live in that house. And so we lived in that house. End of the story. Right? So oftentimes you have to begin to align yourself not only to the vision that God has shown you, but to the people that will help you to obtain that goal and not hinder you. Because if I stayed with the first 2 or 3 other realtors, they would have had me go down 35 miles down the road into a neighborhood in an area that was not going to be suitable for me and my child. So here's the lesson in that. Learn to be quiet and don't tell everybody everything, because they might not be able to handle what God has put in your heart, right? And that's one thing that Joseph had to learn with sharing his dreams with his brothers and even his mother and father at that time, or his father at that time. So without right alignment, a dream doesn't have the right foundation. You can chase the vision all you want, but if you're not aligned with the one who gave it to you, you'll burn yourself out chasing the outcome and trying to make it happen. That's what a lot of people do. They manipulate. They try to get on people's rosters. They pontificate. They do all of this other stuff, right? Cajole and change themselves to be somebody who they're not. And then when you get found out, you look like a fraud, right? So my suggestion to you is to stick with who God called you to be. And if this is your season of waiting, if this is your season of not yet, be doing things towards your goal, towards that vision. Don't just not do anything. Even if it's dreaming about it, envisioning it, and having an imagination. See, without faith, it's impossible to please God. So, what is your faith? How does that look? That's what you got to get to. Is what do you see with your with your vision, with the creative ability that God has given us with this beautiful thing called an imagination? Are you using that? Create what you want to see in your tomorrow, so that what you see today that you don't like, that can be gone. Trust me, I know. So I want you to think about this. What is holding you back? Is it fear? Fear of failure? Fear of success? Is it fear of being seen trying and then possibly failing? What is holding you back? That's the question. What's holding you back from becoming? It's time. It's time, y'all. We're in a new season. We're in a new day. If you continue to see yourself a certain way, then begin to work towards that. I always had this burning desire to go to law school. This is my last story. And I had put it away for a while. And then by God's sovereignty, He brought it back. I was working with some leaders at an organization, and they kept asking me legal questions. I ended up having the answers. And then a legal person, a lawyer, he became my mentor. I started having conversations with him and another mentor who was another lawyer in labor and employment law. And guess what? I did. I was like, I believe God is telling me to go to law school, y'all. And they were like, that's good. Do it. What can we do to help? We need people like you. And I was like me? At the time, I was like, oh God, thank you very much. Okay. So yeah, I did that. And it was difficult. It was one of the most difficult things. And I always say, like, had I not been through business school, I wouldn't have been able to get through that, because that's even more rigorous, a law program. And then another thing I kept seeing, at the same time I was seeing that, I kept seeing myself on a stage speaking to people about something I was very passionate about. And I thought, God, how could that be? And what stage is this? But I kept holding those things in my heart. And lo and behold, God allowed both of those things to come to fruition back to back. See, we believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. I stopped listening to people and started just listening and focusing on what is the Lord telling me. Not gonna listen to y'all. Y'all can say whatever you want. Okay, let them. Because at the end of the day, I know who He called me to be. And I know what He's calling me to have. And I'm going to do exactly what He told me to do. So that's your inspirational moment today. Don't let people hold you back from attaining the high aspiration, the high ideal that God has put in your heart. Thank you.